Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're cracking open a play script that one of y'all sent our way. It's called Deana VP by Pasquale M Palmieri.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
It's set in modern-day Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
but with a twist.
Mm,
It's been reimagined as part of an Australian republic.
right.
So buckle up, because this deep dive is going to take us through what's a whirlwind, really, of sex,
Yeah.
power, and family secrets.
I think what's really clever about this whole Australian Republic thing, setting it in Melbourne, well, Melbourne's this vibrant cosmopolitan city, right?
Right.
But tweaking the political landscape just a little bit,
Yeah.
it introduces this sense of unease. Like this a subtle shift in the power dynamics that makes you, well, it makes you question everything, really. Like everything you thought you knew about the characters, about their motivations, it all gets kind of, well, it gets flipped on its head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's holding up a funhouse mirror
Hmm.
to our own society where ambition and manipulation, well, they can lurk beneath a very respectable veneer.
Oh,
And speaking of manipulation, the play really centers around Deana. She's a successful young businesswoman
okay.
who also happens to be the vice president of a really powerful organization for single women. And get this,
Yeah.
she's sworn off marriage.
Yeah, and her oath of celibacy. I mean, it's more than just a personal quirk, right? It really speaks to her rejection of traditional power structures, and particularly those that try to, they try to confine women to certain predetermined roles. And she's seen firsthand the damage that those patriarchal expectations, the damage they can inflict, especially through her own mother's experiences.
Ah, yes, Latona. I mean, she's a force of nature, this CEO who's clawed her way to the top of a very male-dominated industry.
Absolutely.
It's not like she's made some tough choices, some
Yeah.
compromises along the way. But why this fierce commitment to staying single? What's Deana's backstory?
Well, so her father, he actually walked out on her mother when she and her twin brother Polo were young.
Oh.
Yeah. And that abandonment, it left a deep scar. And it leads Donna to believe that, well, she believes that love and marriage are just traps, really. Traps that ultimately disempower women. So it's a fascinating psychological foundation for her character.
Wow, so she's not just avoiding romance. She's actively rebelling against a system that she sees as inherently flawed. It makes her initial resistance to Ercole. He's this mysterious newcomer to Melbourne. It makes her resistance even more understandable.
So who is this Ercole guy, anyway?
Well, he's an actor, supposedly.
Yeah.
He's in town to work with Polo on a play, but there's an immediate spark between him and Deana, despite all her reservations. As the story unfolds, though, we learn that Ercole is harboring a secret, one that ties directly to the heart of all the power struggles in the play.
Ooh, I love a good secret. So what kind of power struggles are we talking about here? The synopsis mentioned something about a president. Is this where this whole Australian Republic thing comes into play? Exactly. The president, well, he's this shadowy, ambitious figure pulling strings behind the scenes. He's got his sights set on this massive liquid natural gas deal with China. It promises huge economic benefits, but also raises some serious environmental concerns.
Ah, so we've got political intrigue and environmental ethics all rolled into one. Where does Latona fit into this whole power play?
So her company, it actually controls some pretty crucial resources that the president needs to secure this deal. So because of that, he sees her as an obstacle, someone to be either manipulated or coerced into compliance.
Okay, and here's where things get really juicy. The president just so happens to be Deana and Polo's father, a fact that Latona has kept hidden for years. Talk about a family reunion you wouldn't want to RSVP to.
Yeah, it's a total bombshell. Explodes in the middle of the play, shattering the characters' perceptions of themselves and their relationships. Imagine the psychological impact on Deana. This man that she's been subconsciously rebelling against is suddenly revealed as her own flesh and blood. It's a masterstroke of dramatic irony.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So we've got this tangled web of family secrets, political machinations, and ethical dilemmas, all playing out against the backdrop of this imagined Australian Republic. What I'm getting is that Deana VP, it's not just a story, it's a commentary on the timeless struggles for power, control, and maybe even a bit of love.
You hit the nail on the head. The play uses it uses these heightened circumstances to explore very human questions. Questions about ambition, compromise, the choices we make in pursuit of both love and autonomy.
All right, so we've got the players on the board, the stakes are high, and there are secrets lurking around every corner. So let's delve a little deeper into these characters, starting with Deana. How does her oath of celibacy play out as the story unfolds, especially with this intriguing Ercole character entering the picture?
Well, Deanna's oath, it's like a shield, really, a way to protect herself from the perceived dangers of romantic entanglement. But Ercole's arrival, well, it challenges her deeply held beliefs. It forces her to confront her own desires and her own vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it's like that age-old question. Can we ever truly escape the pull of our past and the patterns that we've inherited?
That's exactly what Palmieri is exploring here. He's using Deanna's journey to ask, can we rewrite our own narratives, or are we just destined to repeat the mistakes of those who came before us?
Ooh, those are some heavy questions. But before we get too philosophical,
Yeah.
let's talk about Latona.
Yeah.
She's clearly a survivor, someone who's learned to play the game on her own terms. But how does she navigate this treacherous landscape of power and ambition, especially with the president breathing down her neck?
Well, Latona, she's a master strategist. She's built her empire through through a combination of shrewdness, resilience, and maybe even a touch of ruthlessness. But this revelation of Deanna and Polo's paternity, it throws her carefully constructed world into chaos.
You know, it's interesting how the play's title, Deana VP, well, it works on multiple levels, doesn't it? I mean, Deana's vice president. Yeah. But she's also, in a way, a pawn, a potential victim in this high-stakes game of power. And her name, Deana, Sapmanoi, it has these echoes of the Roman goddess Diana, this fierce protector of her own independence.
Oh, that's a brilliant observation. It's like Palmieri is suggesting that even those who strive for agency and control can still become entangled in these webs of manipulation and deceit.
And then there's this whole play within a play thing going on. What's the deal with that? Is it just a random subplot? Or is there something deeper going on?
Oh, it's far from random. The play that Polo and Ercole are working on, it's actually a Greek classic. It's a story of betrayal and manipulation orchestrated by Zeus himself. And it directly mirrors the events that are unfolding in the main plot. It adds this whole layer of historical and thematic resonance.
So it's not just a play. It's a commentary on the cyclical nature of these power struggles.
Yeah.
And these enduring patterns of human behavior.
Exactly. Palmieri's reminding us that these conflicts, they aren't limited to modern times or specific settings. They're part of the human condition, playing out across cultures throughout history.
Okay, so we've set the stage, we've met the players, and we've glimpsed these shadowy forces at work. But I'm dying to know how these secrets unravel and what kind of impact they have on the characters. So let's dive into the heart of the story and see how it all plays out, shall we?
Let's do it. Remember that liquid natural gas deal we mentioned? The one that's at the heart of the president's ambitions?
Yeah.
Well, it's called the NLG deal, and it's not just about economic gain.
It sounds like there are some serious ethical implications swirling around this NLG deal.
Absolutely. Latona, she's deeply concerned about the environmental impact of, extracting and exporting all that natural gas. She sees the deal as, she thinks it's a short-sighted grab for profit, really. One that will ultimately damage the planet.
So it's Latona, the CEO. Who's the voice of environmental conscience in this story? That's an interesting twist on that typical corporate villain trope.
Right. Palmieri, he cleverly subverts our expectations by presenting a businesswoman who's not just solely driven by profit. She's grappling with this tension between economic growth and environmental responsibility. It's a dilemma that many of us face in our own lives.
Yeah, it's like she's caught between a rock and a hard place. The pressure to succeed in a cutthroat business world.
Yeah.
And that moral imperative to protect the planet.
Exactly. And her conflict, it mirrors this larger debate happening in society today. Can we have both economic prosperity and environmental sustainability, or are those goals just fundamentally at odds?
Big questions indeed. But let's get back to the personal drama unfolding within this family. How does Latona's big secret, the truth about Deana and Polo's father, how does it finally come to light? Is it a slow burn reveal, or does the truth just explode onto the scene?
It's it's carefully orchestrated, this unraveling of the truth. A series of discoveries that they chip away at the characters' facades. Remember how Deana was initially suspicious of Ercole?
Oh, yeah. She sensed that something was off about him, despite their undeniable attraction.
Well, her instincts are spot on. Remember those plays he and Polo were supposedly working on? They're all smoke and mirrors.
Wait, you're telling me Ercole isn't really an actor? What's his real game, then?
Sent on a mission to seduce Deana and gain control of Latona's company. The president, he has this cunning plan to exploit a hidden clause in a property contract. That would give him a controlling stake in Latona's company if Deana were to marry Ercole. So he's basically, he's orchestrating their entire relationship for his own gain.
Oh my gosh. This play just keeps getting more and more twisted. It's like a Shakespearean drama, set in modern-day Australia, complete with hidden identities, power grabs, and family betrayals.
And the way that Palmieri uses language to heighten the drama, it's brilliant. For instance, the scene where Latona finally reveals the truth about Deana and Polo's father. It's electric.
I bet.
She's been carrying this burden of secrecy for so long, and when it finally bursts out of her, it's like a damn brilliant...
I can only imagine. Do you remember the exact line?
Yes. She shouts, "He's your father! Damn it. I can finally say it. It's out."
Wow, you can practically feel the years of repressed pain and frustration just pouring out of her in that moment. And how do Deana and Polo react to this earth-shattering news?
Well, Deanna, she's horrified. Not only has she fallen for a man who was deceiving her, but her father is the very person she's been fighting against her entire adult life. The man who represents everything she despises. It's a crushing blow that just shatters her worldview.
It's like her carefully constructed identity, her whole sense of self, is suddenly crumbling beneath her. And what about Polo? How does the more artistic, sensitive twin, how does he deal with this revelation?
Polo's reaction is... it's more complex. There's anger, of course.
Yeah.
But also this sense of dark humor, like this recognition of the absurdity of the whole situation. It's like he's always known, deep down, that the world is just this messy, complicated place. And this just confirms his cynical view.
You know, this whole situation's a masterclass in dramatic irony.
Yeah.
We, the audience, we know the truth about Ercole's identity and the president's machinations, but the characters, they're stumbling around in the dark, just trying to piece together these fragments of information.
And that creates this incredible tension, this sense of impending doom as we wait for the other shoe to drop.
Speaking of shoes dropping, I'm assuming Latona eventually discovers the truth about the property contract clause and Ercole's true motives. What happens when those secrets are exposed?
It's like a house of cards collapsing. The confrontation between Latona and the president, well, it's explosive, filled with recriminations and accusations. But just as it seems like the president has won, like he's going to secure control of everything, fate intervenes.
Ooh, fate intervenes. What does that even mean in a play about political maneuvering and corporate backstabbing?
News breaks that the president has died suddenly. No dramatic showdown, no heroic last stand. Just a quiet exit that leaves everyone reeling.
The president he just dies. How does that even happen? Does he have a heart attack from all the stress, or is there something more sinister at play?
The cause of death is, it's somewhat ambiguous. A heart attack is mentioned, but the play also kind of hints that his lifestyle, his relentless pursuit of power, might have contributed to his demise. It's almost as if the weight of his own ambition crushed him in the end.
Talk about poetic justice. But what does his death mean for the other characters? Does it bring them any sense of closure or resolution?
That's the beauty of Palmieri's writing. He doesn't offer he doesn't give you any easy answers or neat resolutions. Instead, he leaves us pondering the implications of what's transpired and how the characters will navigate their lives in the wake of this seismic event.
So there's more of an open ending, one that invites the audience to draw their own conclusions.
Exactly. It's like life itself. Messy, unpredictable. Woof! This recognition that life's journeys, they're rarely straightforward, and that even the most devastating experiences can lead to unexpected transformations.
We've talked about the political intrigue, the family drama, the ethical dilemmas. But one thing we haven't really touched on yet is the humor in Deana VP. I know it's a play that deals with some pretty heavy themes, but there are also these moments of genuine wit and satire sprinkled throughout.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Palmieri's use of humor is brilliant. It's not just there for comic relief. It's a way to highlight the absurdity of the situations, to poke fun at the characters' foibles, and to offer a bit of social commentary along the way.
Deana's best friend, Afro, LP, she seems to be the main source of comic relief. Can you tell us a little bit more about her and the role she plays in the story?
Afro, she's like a breath of fresh air, this sassy, sexually liberated woman who challenges societal norms, and she offers this refreshingly honest perspective on relationships. She's like a Greek chorus, really, offering witty commentary on the action and providing a counterpoint to Deana's more idealistic views.
She sounds like the kind of friend we all need. Someone who can make us laugh even when the world feels like it's falling apart. Do you have a favorite Afro line? Something that really captures her unique brand of wisdom?
One of her best lines is, "Love between a man and a woman is not a healthy thing. It can only destroy the initial lust for one another, leaving you like a deflated balloon."
Oh, that's classic Afro. It's hilarious, but also a bit insightful. She's basically saying that romantic love, it's often built on these unrealistic expectations that inevitably lead to disappointment.
Exactly. She's challenging that fairy tale notion of happily ever after and offering a more, a more pragmatic and perhaps even cynical view of relationships.
But her cynicism, it's laced with humor, which makes it both palatable and thought-provoking. It's like she's saying, hey, let's not take ourselves too seriously, even when life throws us curveballs.
And that's what makes Afro such a delightful character. She reminds us that even in the midst of all the drama and heartbreak, there's always room for a bit of laughter and a healthy dose of skepticism.
So we've got family secrets, political machinations, ethical dilemmas, and a dash of humor. But there's one more element we haven't explored yet, the play within a play. Why do you think Palmieri chose to include this parallel narrative? What does it add to the overall story?
The play within a play? Well, it serves as a kind of mirror, really, reflecting the themes of manipulation, betrayal, and the abuse of power that are playing out in the main plot. It's a story about gods and heroes. But it speaks to the timeless nature of these conflicts and how they continue to resonate in our modern world.
Yeah, it's like Palmieri saying, hey, these power struggles and betrayals, they're not new. They've been happening since the dawn of time, just with different costumes and settings.
Exactly. And the fact that the play within a play is a Greek tragedy, well, it further reinforces this idea. You see, Greek tragedies, they were all about exploring the complexities of human nature, the consequences of our choices, and the inevitability of fate.
So the play within a play, it's not just a random plot device. It's a carefully chosen element that adds layers of meaning and depth to the overall story. It allows Palmieri to comment on the cyclical nature of history, the enduring patterns of human behavior, and that timeless struggle between power and freedom.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a brilliant example of how a skilled playwright can use multiple narratives to create this rich tapestry of meaning and symbolism.
Okay, we've unpacked the characters, the plot, the themes, even the play within a play.
Yeah.
But there's one big question looming over this entire discussion. What does Deana VP ultimately have to say about the world we live in? What message is Palmieri trying to convey?
I think the play ultimately challenges us to confront the ways in which power operates in our own lives, both on a personal and societal level. It encourages us to question assumptions, examine our own choices, and consider the potential consequences of our actions.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to our own society, forcing us to acknowledge these power dynamics that shape our relationships, our institutions, even our own sense of self.
Exactly. And he's asking us to consider whether true freedom is possible within a system that often feels rigged against us.
Big questions indeed, but ones that are worth pondering, especially in a world that can sometimes feel overwhelming and disempowering.
You know, one thing that really struck me about Deana VP is how Palmieri uses the setting of an imagined Australian republic, to explore these themes of power and manipulation.
Right, it's not just a random backdrop. It adds this layer of what if to the story, almost like we're looking at a distorted reflection of our own reality.
Yeah, by removing the queen from the equation and introducing a president. Palmieri subtly shifts the power dynamics. It makes us question whether the same patterns of corruption and ambition would play out even in a supposedly more egalitarian system.
It's like he's saying, hey, even in a republic, the same human flaws and desires for power, well, they can rear their ugly heads.
Exactly. And the character of the President F, well, he embodies that idea perfectly. He's this shadowy figure who operates behind the scenes, manipulating people and events to achieve his own goals.
And it's not just the president, right? I mean, we see these power dynamics playing out in all sorts of relationships throughout the play, between men and women, parents and children, even friends.
Absolutely. Think about Deanna's relationship with Ercole. I mean, she's drawn to him, but she's also wary of his motives, and rightfully so, as it turns out.
Yeah, it's like she's both attracted to power and repelled by it. She wants to be in control of her own life, but she also finds herself drawn to those who exude authority.
Well, it's a fascinating internal conflict, and it's something that I think a lot of us can relate to.
Right.
We all navigate these power dynamics in our own lives, whether we're aware of it or not.
It's like Palmieri is holding up a mirror to our own subconscious desires and anxieties about power. It's both unsettling and strangely illuminating.
And don't forget the play's title, Deana VP. It's a clever play on words that highlights Deanna's dual role as both a leader and a target.
Right. She's a vice president in her organization. But she's also a victim of the president's manipulation, a pawn in his game. It's like her very name foreshadows her fate.
And the name Deana, well, it evokes the Roman goddess Diana, the virgin huntress who fiercely protected her independence. It's almost like Palmieri's drawing a parallel between Deana's struggle for autonomy and this timeless battle between individual freedom and the forces that seek to control us.
Ooh, that's a powerful connection. It's like those echoes of Greek mythology we were talking about earlier, with the play within a play, and those themes of fate and betrayal. Palmieri seems to be weaving all these layers of meaning and symbolism into the story.
He's a master of his craft, and it's one of the things that makes Deana VP so thought-provoking. It's not just a story. It's a conversation starter, really, a play that stays with you long after the curtain falls.
So after this deep dive into Deana VP, what's the takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope they'll walk away thinking about?
I hope they'll consider the ways in which power operates in their own lives. Who are the people, the institutions that hold power over them, and how do they navigate those dynamics?
It's a call to awareness, right?
Yeah.
To recognize the subtle and not so subtle ways in which power shapes our choices or relationships, even our sense of self.
Exactly. And it's not just about recognizing power, it's about questioning it, challenging it, finding ways to reclaim our own agency in a world that often feels designed to disempower us.
It's like Palmieri is giving us a toolkit for critical thinking, a way to analyze the power structures around us and make more informed choices about how we want to engage with them. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we still have the power to make choices, to define ourselves, to create our own meaning in the world.
And that's a powerful message, one that I think we can all draw inspiration from.
Well said. It's been an incredible journey exploring Deana VP with you. I feel like we've peeled back the layers of this play, uncovering its hidden depths and its relevance to our own lives.
It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy these deep dives. It's a chance to really engage with complex ideas and to
appreciate the power of storytelling.
And thanks to you, our listener, for sending us this fascinating play script. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the stories that shape our world.